Black Information Network. On the Black Information Network, I'm Vanessa Tyler along with Mike Moore. They are still counting in Kentucky. We should know soon whether Democrats Charles Booker or David Graff will face Republican Mitch McConnell for the U.S. Senate. It is neck and neck between Booker and McGrath. If he wins, Booker would be Kentucky's first African-American United States Senator.
Well, I'm feeling really good. I'm inspired. I'm proud of Kentucky. We have taken a stand. We have defied the odds, and we're fired up.
Although the election was last week, a record number of mail-in ballots due to the coronavirus caused a delay in the final results.
Chinese researchers are warning of a new flu strain that can be passed from pigs to humans. A new study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, it shows an influenza prevalent in Chinese pigs and found in European and Asian birds called G4EAH1N1. At least 2 cases of G4 infections in humans have been confirmed, but the virus cannot be transferred from person to person. The researchers said the flu strain could become pandemic and needs to be closely monitored.
The right to choose in Georgia has a whole new meaning now that the Supreme Court made that surprising ruling in the Louisiana case. The High Court ruled requiring doctors who perform abortions to have privileges at local Louisiana hospitals is unconstitutional. Now, a federal judge in Georgia who is waiting to hear what the High Court decides before ruling on his own case. In Georgia, the facts are different, but pro-choice advocates worry there is still an effort to impede a woman's constitutional right to an abortion.
The man seen on viral cell phone video pointing a rifle at a crowd of protesters in St. Louis said that he feared for his life. Mark Lankowski, a local attorney, and his wife Patricia were captured on video holding guns as the crowd marched on Portland Place Drive Sunday night.
The only thing that stopped the crowd from approaching the house was when I had that rifle and I was holding.
The protesters were calling for the resignation of the mayor after she released the names of people calling for police reform. McCluskey says that he was having dinner on his patio when he says someone tried to force his gate open.
I can't blame my wife for being terrified and for doing what she could to protect what she thought was her life.
When he announced that it was private property, he says the crowd got angry. So he and his wife grabbed their guns and came outside. Time now for Road to the White House. Here's Morgan Wood in Washington.
A diversity report on Joe Biden's and Donald Trump's presidential campaign was recently released. The data showed that majority of the presumptive Democratic nominee's staff is comprised of women, and 35% of his staff include people of color. As for the president's re-election campaign, 52% of his staff is women and 25% are people of color. Joe Biden vowed to select a woman as his vice president and nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. The two are set to gear up for their respective rallies in August, and the president is trailing Joe Biden in the polls. Trump's campaign continues to take blows as the president's actions have adverse effects. His account was recently suspended on Twitch for hateful conduct. Iran has issued a warrant for his arrest in the drone strike death of Qasem Soleimani, and he still refuses to wear a mask even after 2 of his staffers tested positive for COVID-19. That's the Road to the White House. I'm Morgan Wood in Washington on the Black Information Network.
I'm Keith Urquhart on the Black Information Network. 1908, a group of black and white leaders joined together to form a new permanent civil rights organization, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. February 12, 1909 was chosen because it was the centennial anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. Since its inception, the NAACP has worked to achieve its goals through the judicial system, lobbying, and peaceful protest. In 1910, Oklahoma passed a constitutional amendment allowing people whose grandfathers had been eligible to vote in 1866 to register without passing a literacy test. The NAACP challenged the law and won a legal victory in 1915 when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that grandfather clauses were unconstitutional. In 1954, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, led by Thurgood Marshall, argued the Brown versus Board of Education case, but the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the separate but equal doctrines in public schools. And that's a fact. For these stories and more, go to BIN News.
1130am, WDFN Detroit, the Black Information Network.
BINNewsDetroit.com on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BIN News Detroit. Tell your smart device to play Detroit's BIN 1130 on iHeartRadio. I'm Vanessa Tyler.
And I'm Mike Stevens.
On the Black Information Network.
The death of a loved one is a very sad thing, even under the best of circumstances. So my condolences to Mr. Floyd's family. The second thing is I find it ironic that the Attorney General's office and the rest of the public officials who've been commenting publicly on this case and leaking sensitive information now want to keep the trial not open to the public.
The judge in the murder case for George Floyd says he will move the case out of Minneapolis if the lawyers in the case won't stop talking about it publicly. All 4 fired officers appeared in court. Derek Chauvin, the one charged with murder for keeping his knee on Floyd's neck and is in custody, appeared via video. Even with all the protests for change, Floyd's uncle, who was in the courtroom, worries about justice.
I know how the system works. I've seen the system my whole life. A black man getting slighted, shaded, for some reason or another. I don't want it to be like this, but when I walk in the courthouse and I see like 15 white people, I'm thinking, oh hell, we're going through this again.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer cheering the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling on abortion.
The Supreme Court struck down a Louisiana law that would have restricted abortion providers so severely that Louisiana would have been left with only a single clinic.
Chief Justice John Roberts ruled with the court's 4 Democratic appointees. Schumer said the High Court made the right decision once again, suggesting he has been pleasantly surprised lately. He noted other Supreme Court rulings on immigration and LGBTQ rights.